Over the years, I've had several people ask me if I would be able to teach them how to play, whether it was piano or bass or guitar or drums. My schedule really hadn't allowed me to give music lessons. So this series of videos will be designed to help anyone from a beginner to someone who's maybe seasoned, looking for just some encouragement, some tricks that I use, some techniques to take their playing and their musicianship to another level. Again, I'm not a PhD in music, and I'm not a music instructor. I'm just a guy that loves to worship and loves to play. So I pray these videos will be of use to you, and that through them you can grow and become a musician and a worshiper. May Yahweh richly, richly bless you. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Alright, so today we're going to cover lesson 2 in the Learning How to Play Piano Keyboard series. We covered in lesson 1 a lot of the fundamentals, which were what the actual notes were on the piano, what a step and half step were, what a flat or sharp was, and how to build a scale. So now we're going to take that concept of building a scale and learn how to actually build chords. Chords are the fundamentals of music. When you hear music on a radio, when you hear music on a CD, at your church or wherever, you're hearing a group of notes being played simultaneously to create a sound. So for example, this is a C, this is the chord of C. So you get a much different sound there, right? You can start adding things in there. Alright, and it just creates a more full sound. So we're going to start with the very basics of chords, which will be your major chord and your minor chord. There are many variations. Seventh, sustained, seventh majors, diminished chords. We'll get into some of that in some later lessons for those of you that are interested in that. Again, my goal here is to try to get you playing as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. And so that's going to happen by learning how to build chords. So we talked about scales in lesson 1, and I gave the scales numbers from 1 to 8. So whenever you're building a chord, your major chord is always going to be your 1, 3, 5. So let's start with the C, again, because it's all the white keys, it just makes it easy. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is my major chord. So if I were to go to F, that would be my major chord. If I were to go to G, that would be my major chord. Now you notice there it's always every other, but that's not always going to happen. If you remember from lesson 1, we talked about how a scale was whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Well, if we apply this on the 1, 3, 5, in this particular instance it does work out where you have whole step, that's my 2, 3, half step, 4, whole step, 5. And when I go to F, it falls out just right again. Whole step, so that's my 3, half step, now whole step, 1, 2. And it just happens to fall out just perfectly there, where it's every other key. Same thing with G. Whole step, so that's my 3, 1, 2, 3. 4 would be half step, then whole step, so that's my 5. It's every other, so you have now just to show you how that doesn't always play out. If we were in D, it'd be 1, whole step, so you got 1, 2, 1, 2. That's my actual 3. We said it's 1, 3, 5. So here would be my 4, because then it's half step, then whole step, 5. So there, it's not every other, it's using this black key. Okay, so you always want to make sure you're counting 1, 3, 5 to build your major chords. The second chord we're going to talk about today is your minor chord. It's a 1, 4, 5. It's a much more sad sounding chord. So again, instead of going 1, 3, 5, I'm sorry, I told you it was a 1, 4, 5. It's going to be a 1, 3 flat, 5. So you go 1, 2, 3, flat. Remember, flat was a half step down. And then from your 3, you would have had 4, and then 5. So that's your minor chord. In F, your minor would be basically you take that 3 and you go down a half step. So it has a little more sad sounding. Same thing in G. You go down a half step. Okay, so just to give you an idea of what I mean by a sadder sound, I want you to just kind of hear this for a second, okay? So that's an E minor, A minor, G minor. Now I'm going to play the majors. It sounds more alive, more lively. Okay, so whenever you hear someone saying that it sounds sad, that's all they mean. It's just a different harmonic sound. Okay, so at the very basic level here, you've got 1, 3, 5 for your major chord, 1, 3 flat, 5 for your minor chord. Now, once you get that down pat, you're actually just about ready to start playing some very simple music. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak when he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. So again, that was just those couple chords I showed you at the beginning, and you can see you can actually start making a little bit of music. Okay. The real basic reason for this lesson was to teach you how to build chords. Get good at that. Get where if someone shouts out, "What's a D?" you can come in here and just immediately play. A lot of this will be repetition. You can build your chords by counting off the way I said. Okay, well, this is a 1, 2, 3. Right, 1, 2, 3, and then you got 4, 5. Or you go, okay, well, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But that's going to take a little while. You want to get where you've got them pretty much memorized, and someone says, hey, can you play a G? You're there just that fast. And someone says, hey, can you play a C? You're there just that fast. And someone says, hey, can you play an F sharp? You're just there that fast. And someone says, hey, can we play an E flat? You're there just that fast. That's going to come with time. The more you practice, the quicker you're going to get good at this. Okay? But once you start learning how to build your chords, go ahead and start trying to memorize as many as you can. For the sake of these tutorials, a lot of what I teach you will be in keys like C and G, just because they're visually easy. It's a lot of white notes, but don't get too comfortable with just relying on that. You may find yourself in a situation where you have to play like an A flat, and if you're not comfortable with playing that, it's going to be a little difficult and challenging for you. So kind of expand where you are. Don't limit yourself to just the easy white keys. Get into some of these black keys. It's going to make you a better musician. Now, I want to end with one other thing, which is some fundamentals on how to play. I didn't cover this the first lesson. I probably should have. But hand position is very important. If you're playing here, you see how my hands are kind of flat to the keyboard? I can do that, but when I move up here, that makes it a little more difficult because it almost feels like these are in the way. You really want to be in an upright position where you're going down, because if you're down real low, it's just easier to kind of hit some of those keys accidentally. Where if you're high, you see how I stay kind of high? It gives you room to depress. And there, if I'm here, on that. If I was flat, you see how these start depressing a little bit? You want to be high where you can get a clean tone. So make sure that as you're starting out playing, you've got some good fundamentals, that you got your hand held up high to your instrument, and that way you don't get bad mechanics. Again, I hope these videos have been of help to you. We've covered a lot in the first two lessons. One of the things we'll cover next time is actually get into some of the basics of that natural number system and how that relates to building songs and building music. And I'll get some chord charts out that we use here at the church so you can see what I'm referring to when I say natural number system. Once again, I hope these videos have been a blessing to you. May Yahweh richly bless you.